we've heard from some, we've heard from so many great agents here about listing presentations already, and what they look like and different angles they take, and everybody's got their own flavor, right? So I think what you're hearing from all of us, it's always good to kind of take what you like and kind of make it your own. But by now you should have so many ideas, like a ton. Like there's no shortage of ideas, maybe a little bit too many. So what I want to do is I'll show you a little bit of, I guess, what I call a listing presentation, but really it's a listing packet that I leave behind because I don't like to sit there and go through like my PowerPoints and things like that. So I'll show you that, but my focus is going to be actually on the investor client. So I do traditional business, right? I list homes for traditional sellers, and I do a lot of the things that we heard here. But when I meet with an investor, that is actually a very different strategy for me, right? My approach with an investor client, and when I say an investor client, this is someone that fixed up the home, right, that they bought usually for cash or with hard money, and then they renovated it, and they want my services to list it because they've heard of me being an investor agent that's very friendly. I'm very flexible. I understand what they're going through because I used to be an investor myself in the flipping world. So I have a program that I specifically designed. It's exclusive listing program only for investors. And I'm very transparent with them. And I shared this from the beginning, like what I'm going to show you is not something that I want you to talk about with your friends and family. Anyone that's a traditional client, this is not for them. This is only for you. One, that makes them feel special. But two, it's true. I don't want to be known as a discount agent, okay, in the arena of real estate, right? When I meet with a traditional client, the commission is usually 5 to 6%, right? But when I'm meeting with an investor, that looks very different. And the reason I do this, one, is when I look at an investor, to me, if they're a good investor and they're serious and they're actually taking action on the things that they've either learned from a coaching company, which we also have on that end, or from another coaching company, or maybe they're just learning from YouTube. If they're taking action on some of those steps that they're learning, I know that they will generate opportunities for themselves and for me, right? And my goal is to make it very easy for them to know that if they go to Randy and list their home, they're going to have the specific listing structure and it's not going to change. And they could easily plug that into their analysis, into their numbers on the front end when they're submitting an offer on the property that they're about to potentially purchase to rehab, right? So that's kind of the design of my strategy, right? And I'm very transparent with them from the beginning. So what I do, and I think Brian shared this. Let me share my screen right now. Hold on. Here we go. When I say Brian Yarber, not to be mistaken with Brian Moses. So Brian Yarber, who's my business partner here in Southern California, I believe he shared this with you. So this is something I do not do with investors. Okay, this is the in-depth dive-in consultation, asking questions about the seller situation. But I did want to just quickly show you that I do have something like this that Brian and I and our team in San Diego use when we meet with the traditional seller, right? And like I said, this is not something I'm going to sit down with an investor with, because most of these questions are not going to apply. Like, why have you decided to sell your home? Like, well, what do you mean? Right? They bought it to rehab it and sell it. So like, this is for a traditional seller. So I'll share that later in the chat when Brian Moses starts his. But I do want to show you, like, this is usually how we begin the journey with the traditional seller. Take them through these questions so we learn about them, which is something we heard from every agent that, on every panelist here, that the beginning of any listing presentation is really asking questions. Like, it's less you talking, it's more them talking, right? So you look for those nuggets. So that's something I'll share with you in the chat later. But what I do is, if I don't know the investor well yet, and I haven't established a really good, like, great relationship, that what I will show them is actually how I market for them. How are they, what should they expect from my marketing? And actually, I should pull up what that marketing looks like live for you guys here. So hold on 1 second. I'll pull that up in a moment. But here's my list of marketing. Here's what I would sit down. So like, this is a property that we listed a couple of years ago, I believe it was. This was a rehab that was done a while ago, and it was a rental for a while, and then this investor decided to sell it. So this is not like your typical flip, but to me, this is still an investor client, which means that I will get multiple business opportunities potentially from this investor if I do really good for him the first time around, right? And that's how I approach that. My investor relationship, it's not a one-time thing. Where with traditional clients, it usually will be where you might sell their home or help them buy their home maybe every 5-7 years, if that, and you really are hoping for them to refer you to other clients. Like that's your goal, right? That's how you get more business from a traditional client. With an investor who's serious and does multiple flips a year, my goal is to get multiple listings per year from that same investor. And as you guys heard many, many times, that most agents would like to list properties because that's where you last in the business and you get a lot more business from it, right? When you have listings, you get more opportunities, you get more listings, your credibility grows faster the more you sell, right? Because now your production goes up. So that's how I approach that. So when I sit down with an investor, regardless if it's a new relationship or a relationship that I already established and it's my second or third listing, I would go over this marketing plan with them. And I would say, hey, so I have an in-house marketing team. They do all the behind the scenes marketing for myself and other agents on my team. That does cost money. And I'm going to show you exactly what that actually costs me, the agent. Okay. So I'm very transparent with my investor clients, and I'll tell you why in a moment. And I will tell them what happens in the coming soon stage. We bring in a stager or do virtual staging. I don't pay for it. The seller pays for it. We place it in Zillow coming soon, but really it's MLS coming soon, which we are allowed to do now in San Diego. Target neighbors via postcards about, hey, we have a property coming soon in this neighborhood. We can do a broker's caravan. We usually a couple of weeks prior, allowing them to, to hear that the agents in the area to know that there's a beautiful renovated property coming on the market, right? And that's free because that's just time. Going live stage, professional photos around $250, Matterport 300, drone shots 100, property website that's included. We get that with EXP. If it's a luxury property, we'll place it in the dreamhomesmagazine.com. Broker's caravan, now that it's live, we will do a broker's caravan and have refreshments there for agents to come by. High quality brochures, 100. Target neighbors via postcards now, again, now that it's live. We call it a pick your neighbor campaign, right? That's another 100. Target all agents that do business in the area. There are great email services out there that allow our emails to actually get to the inboxes of most agents and not end up in spam. One of them is Fast Email Flyer. There are many others, so I use that service. Property lifestyle video, if that's something that this property requires. Not all properties will do this for, but I want my investor client to see what is my range of services that I can provide, right? So property lifestyle video for this particular property, I did recommend because this was a beautiful home in North Park, which is a cool area here in San Diego. So we would like to maybe highlight the property and the area and the restaurants around, and Balboa Park, which is an amazing park in the area. And then we talk about mega open house, something we can do from 12 to 1 for neighbors only, and then 1 to 3 for public agents, for the public and the agents, right? And that's where we cater food, live music, maybe activity for the kids, right? So I lay everything out. And then we finish with targeting area buyers with Facebook ads, $200. And we'll do a voice blast announcing the mega open house to neighbors. And the voice blast is kind of cool. I work with a title company. They help me do this. I just have my assistant record the actual message. Hey, we would love to invite you to our neighborhood open house around the corner from you. And it's this voice blast skips from the phone ringing for the person on the other end. It goes directly to their voicemail. Okay. So that's kind of cool. And that's about $25 per drop. So this is a whole list I show them. And I say, Mr. Investor, the way I operate is I charge a 1% commission or a minimum $6,000 for my team and I. Everything above that, any fees above that, marketing fees, transaction coordinator fees, any other fees are paid by you, Mr. Investor. And here's why I do that, Mr. Investor, because I want you to be in control of what marketing dollar you want to spend. I want to make your expenses for my professional fees to be very, very affordable, right? Which I don't really make a lot on, because I'm honest with them. Like, this is not where I make my money, right? And I don't make my money on your 1% or that $6,000 minimum, whichever is bigger, right? So if the property is $1 million, which is typical, right, in San Diego, then I'm going to make 10,000, not 6,000, right? But I then say, like, you have to pay for the marketing. So let's sit down together and let me know which marketing would you like to do. Here's what I recommend based on your property and based on the location. And I would pick and tell the investor, here's what I would do. I would pick this, and this from the list that should cost you around $1,000. My marketing team will do all the website, the reporting for us. So we're looking somewhere between maybe $750 to $1,500 total for the plan that I would suggest. How do you feel about that? And I would let the investor tell me, because if they're cheap and they're like, well, I don't want to do drone shots and I don't want to do a lifestyle video and I don't want to do that. Great. So we'll just do photos and we'll put it on the MLS and that's it. Is that what you want me to do? Yes, I think we'll sell it because the market is hot, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right. This way it eliminates any chance of that investor coming at me and saying, Randy, you didn't do enough. You're not, why aren't you marketing it this way? Why aren't you sending postcards? What are, it's done. They can't bring that up to me because they chose the marketing plan. I gave them suggestions. They maybe said no to some of the things. And what's cool with this is that maybe we'll start marketing it for a week and we don't get traction and everything is transparent, which actually I forgot to pull up one of my reports. So I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. I'll pull one up. So you see how we then make decisions together with my clients. So this is not a guessing game, right? Because what can happen after a week or two, my client might come back to me and say, Randy, you know what? Maybe we should do some postcards. Can you do that actually now? I'm like, sure, no problem. And then so I do that and I pay for it up front and I get reimbursed at closing. Okay. So I don't make them pay for it and collect $100 here and $200 there. I pay for it and I collect it at closing. And what's cool is when we list the property, and I'll pull a report up for you guys so you see what I mean, where it becomes very, very transparent. And in the listing presentation that you're basically looking at, this is my listing presentation that you're looking at here, right? I go through this, but then I show them live an actual report. Let's see, where is it? How come I can't find it?
Randy, if you're working off two screens, we don't see your listing presentation. We see your standard marketing plan.
Yeah, I'm looking on my other screen for it. That's why. Okay, here we go. And I'll bring it into this screen for you guys. Okay, here we go. So then I go live. I go live, meaning I go on the internet. I like to show things live for my clients. And I say, look, Mr. Client, when I told you that I have a team that helps me with my marketing behind the scenes, so every Monday afternoon around 4 to 5 p.m., you're going to get a report from my marketing team, right? And this is what it's going to look like. So this is a report for one of my clients. We just sold this property in San Clemente. This was a traditional client, but they all get the same report, so it doesn't matter. So all clients of mine get this type of marketing reports. The investors specifically like this because they want to know, give me feedback about my property. What are sellers, what are buyers saying? What are agents saying? Because I've had several situations that based on this report and the feedback that they receive, that's raw. It's raw, it's unedited, it's the true feedback. I would have investors literally say, you know what, let's pause the listing for a week let me go back into the property and actually add a French doors to the backyard, because it seems to be a challenge in this house and everyone's bringing it up, because the only way to get to the yard from this house is through the side door, through the kitchen, right? Like things like that can come from feedback from this reporting. And I literally had that happen, right? Where they were like, all right. And then they did the change, and then all of a sudden the house flows better based on the feedback they received from other agents and buyers. And now the property sells, right? At the same price, instead of dropping the price. Sometimes we even upped the price and sold it higher because of the changes that my investor made after the fact. So this is what they get. It's very custom to them. So they would say, hey, Steve and Linda, this is your property. On your activity report, this webpage is updated weekly on Mondays. Feel free to contact Jeannie or Randy with any questions. That would be us, the agents, okay? They click on this, and this is a picture of their property, right? So it's very custom to them. They can scroll down and see how many weeks they've been on the market, how many Zillow views they've had, how many matching MLS buyer saved searches. So this is like reverse prospecting, right? We can actually go to the MLS and see how many agents are working with buyers and they saved their search within the MLS. So we can actually go and reverse prospect and tell the agents, hey, by the way, looks like you have a search set up for a property and my property fits your buyer search criteria. Here, take a look at it, right? So we want our investor to know how many are there. Oh, 82. Awesome. So there's 82 agents that are going to get notified about this particular property because it falls within the buyer's criteria they're working with, right? In this case, I guess this would be, I don't have open houses on here. I'll have to find another one. But what this is, they can click on any of the major websites out there. They don't have to Google it. They can click right from here and pull up their property. In this case, wow, someone bought it and is up for rent already. So it's sold. This property sold. So now it's up for rent by someone that bought it. I represented the seller. But when it was active and listed, they could go to every link and see their property active on the MLS. Right now, they have it for rent. So I put all the major links in here. I give them access to my social media where we post it on social media for them on our website. So they don't have to look for it. It's all in one place. They just click and they see that we're doing the work we agreed to do together, right? So they can see everything that's being posted. Any marketing pieces that we do that they agreed to pay for, if we do postcards or anything like that, they can find it right in this link. So if they said, Randy, do some, Facebook ads or a flyer, postcards, it would be in here. This particular listing, we listed it for a week only. I had to take it off the MLS because it got an offer quick. But what I'm pointing to you is, for example, like they'll be able to see everything that we created for them. The flyer that we created, social media posts with the images that we used for them. They can see and click on every photo right in here. We don't hide anything. And usually this will have a lot more. This will have the postcards. This would have the drone shots, or anything we do, we put into this Google Drive folder and link it right into this report, right? And then showing feedback. So if we're doing open houses, where in this case we couldn't because this was tenant occupied, there would be a button here for open houses, and they would click on it, just like they can click on showing feedback. And all this is a Google document. This Google document is going to have true and honest showing feedback about the property from everybody that walks in. Okay, as weeks go by, we don't like to be texting our investor client or even our traditional client like, hey, here's what someone said, or send them 10 emails, right? Because maybe we had 10 showings. We say, look, everything that happens about your property is going to go into this report. Any showings that happen, go in here with feedback from the agent that we collect. Any open houses, there will be a button here for open houses. And now I'll find that in a moment. And you can click on it and you're going to see exactly what everybody is saying about your property, right? So we're very, very transparent, and they get this page gets updated by my marketing assistant every single week, and they get the same email like this, except all this information on here is updated with new numbers, with new showing feedback, right? Until the property goes pending. Okay. So that's, and then once I show the investor client what you see here, this, and then I show them this, it's usually a slam dunk. And I tell them like, look, I charge 1% because my goal is to do multiple deals with you, Mr. Seller, Mr. Investor, right? That's my goal. So again, I don't get rich off this. I want to make my job easy for you and yourself, for you and me. We pick the marketing plan together. I want a long-term relationship. I want to do multiple deals with you. That's my goal. And the way we earn our additional business is from this listing, because there is a high probability we'll meet a buyer that we're going to represent to buy this home. They might not want your home. They want something else. We can work with them and make a full 2.5%, 3% commission there. We might get a listing from it, from all the marketing we do. That's how we get to leverage this listing. And I'm being honest with you, because the 1% is not a lot, right, for us to make a living. And I'm very transparent. So please don't disclose this amazing service to any of your friends or family, but please refer me, right? So I ask for them to refer me based on the experience they're receiving, but just please don't mention the discount that they get on this exclusive listing program that I give them. And that's how I'm able to do multiple listings with the same investor year after year, right? It's common. I'll do 3 or 4 listings every year with several investors. I just closed one a couple of weeks ago. This was my 4th one with him, as an example, right? So this is now, if they're also, don't know much about me, I will leave this behind either in a physical form, or I will email them to this. I have an email format of this, and I'll let them read about me. Like, I don't want to talk about me. I don't like that, right? Personally. Some agents want to do that and, build their credibility and talk about their production and all that. I'm like, here, if you want to read more about my team and I, go for it. This is all, it will tell you everything about who we are, how we work with a lot of investors, and how we got started, how many sales we've done in San Diego. Like, go for it. Everything about our team, how we market your home, which you already saw live. I showed it to you live, Mr. Investor, but this briefly explains it. Our local expertise, so we keep an eye on stats. That's how we know how to price the property correctly with you, right? With your feedback. What is our marketing nationally? We do print media if you would like us to do, right? Again, traditional client, all of it is included. With an investor, pick your own adventure, Mr. Investor. How would you want me to market your property? And you're going to pay for it, right? Drone, all that. So all that stuff is in here. Our network, because we're connected to a large education company, we're connected to an investor company. So we let them know, why we are so knowledgeable with working with investors. Our giving back program, right, that we give to charities. That we have a lot of buyers in our network because we work with a lot of investors. A lot of buyers like to work with us because we get access to off-market inventory while the properties are being rehabbed. Guess who knows about those properties? We do. Most agents will not, right? Because those properties are being rehabbed. So a lot of buyers want to work with us for that reason, right? So I explained that in there. And then next steps. So I leave this, and I have testimonials at the end, right? And I leave this behind. This is my leave behind. High gloss, nice paper, thick, printed, or I send it via digital PDF, right? So that's majority of really all I would do. I would like to show you real quick. Let me just pull up one thing and I'll let Brian go, because we are just about at the 30-minute mark. Week 1, let's see, week 1. Let me see if I can find another report for you to see. If not, it's not a big deal, but let's see what I can find here. Brian, do you see any questions that I can also maybe answer as I'm Just
Yeah,
look.
somebody asked Randy, by the way, awesome job. I took some notes. Do you list it at 4% to cover the buyer agent commission?
Yes, good question. So yeah, of course, I recommend that they offer minimum 2.5% to the buyer's agent, or 3 if that's what your market calls for. So yes, that's a very, very good question. Anything else you see there?
Someone asked, can you attach your listing presentation to the chat?
Yep, I'll do that too. And then I just found the report I wanted that's very recent. So keep going, Brian. Anything else you see?
And then if the file that you're looking for, if you can share that. And what's the website that you use to show the weekly stats?
Oh yeah, so that's Wix. So that's something everyone can do, but it is custom designed by my team. So it's not like something you can just plug and play with, right? So we designed this within the backend of Wix. So here's an example of another listing. So if you could see here, see, this is Realty National. It's housed at realtynational.com because my website is housed on Wix. So we just keep creating new pages for each listing, and that's where the reports are housed. So it's not something you can like easily recreate unless you just literally want to pick this layout and just create that in Wix yourself, which is very easy to use, by the way, Wix. Because once we have this template created, we have a couple different templates, then it's just copy and repeat. Like, and we just change the numbers, change the image, change the wording. It's simple once you create one, right? So this is an example.
How do you spell W-I-X or W-I-C?
W-I-X. Yeah. It's kind of like Squarespace. That's another one that you can easily create your own websites, and it's very user-friendly, easy to use. Wix is same thing. And so this is another example of one for a traditional seller we just sold in a 55 and over community. So this is a good example because this one had open houses. So you notice if we do open houses, which we will for every investor, then we will add this right here, open houses. How many did we do? 5, great. Zillow views, last 30 days, this many. MLS views, this many, good. So then this is the difference. You see, when we have an open houses on this listing, this section is now added. And then they could see when was the last open house. And then if they want to look at their open house feedback, check this out. It's all in here from all of the agents that held the open house over how many weeks? Let's see. Look at that. We got one open house, January 21st, another one, January 28th, another one, February 4th, another one, February 5th, and another one, February 10th. And every agent that holds an open house for us has to answer these questions. They have to answer these 9 questions following the open house. If they do not answer these questions for us, they are no longer holding open houses for us. They're off our list, right? Because this is so crucial for me. I want my sellers, and especially investors, to be able to see what's the public saying, how many groups have come through, what's the true and raw feedback. Like, we do not edit this. I want my seller to see what is the public saying. It's better it comes from someone else's mouth than mine, right? So when I talk to my clients, usually on Tuesdays, to reflect on what they saw on Monday's report, and they read through this, and I make sure, hey, did you review the report? Did you read the feedback from all the showings, from the open houses? Yes. What do you think, Mr. Seller? And they tell me. They then tell me what we should do next. They're like, well, it looks like we had so many people through. And this was literally a perfect example, because this wasn't an investor seller, but this was a regular seller that we listed this for. And the data told us, it's like, we got 3 offers, 1 was cash. And he's like, look, I don't know if we could get more than this number. So based on this data, I think we should just go with this offer because of what I'm seeing. So I'd rather close quick, and let's just go with this cash offer at 390, because I don't want to do the things they're saying, right? In these comments. Great, no problem, right? So I don't have to literally so for me, when I talk to my investors or sellers about adjusting their price down in instances where the market is reversing, it's an easy conversation, because this tells me, look, we did everything I told you I was going to do. It's in this report. We got all the feedback. You have all the marketing pieces. We did it all. and we still don't have any offers, that only can say that the price is too high at this point. And some of the agents, as you can see in the open house feedback, mentioned that. So what would you like to do? Well, what are we adjusting the price by? What do you feel comfortable with, 50 or 100, right? It's such an easy conversation, and they're not pointing fingers at me that I didn't do my job, right? Which is mostly what happens in our industry, which that's one of the reasons I created this for my clients, is because most agents do not have any reporting for their clients. They go so prepared to their listing presentation, they tell them everything they're going to do, but then the seller is in the dark, like, about what did you do? Did you actually do the things you said you were going to do? And if so, how would your client know? Most agents don't actually prove their worth afterwards. And then what happens? The seller starts pointing fingers at the agent and say, hey, what's going on, man? Like, where's all the people at? Where's all the offers? What are you doing anything? They start questioning you, even though it's maybe not your fault because you did everything. They just don't know. And it's just a function of the market. But good luck trying to get out of that hole, right? So I'll finish on this. I'm done. I'm going to let Brian Moses take over, and I will answer any additional questions in the chat and share some of this stuff with you guys. Thank you. Hopefully that was helpful, but I wanted to show you this angle on the investor side.
Randy, that was fantastic. I never worked multiple repeat investors, and I'm kicking myself for it now. I wish I met you 20 years ago. What a great strategy. And in the business world, they call it a lost leader, right? You don't make your full compensation on the investor,
Yep.
but you make your full compensation on the back end on, getting other buyers, having more brand awareness and market share. Great job.
Thanks, Brian.
If I can share my screen, yeah, that's
you should
great.
be able to.
That's awesome.
Perfect. Boom. Let's go, Brian.
All right, so I have a few things. I'm going to take a different strategy. And all of these great speakers and panelists have been awesome in providing tips, tools, strategies to get more listings. A little bit about me. I don't like to lose. I'm super competitive. I don't like to lose. I've been on over a few thousand listing appointments in my career. And every single time I've lost, I've learned from it. You either learn from it or you lose. So I turn it into a positive experience. And I'm going to share with you what I've come up with to create a process where I don't lose, where I win 95% of the time. I win when there are people I'm interviewing with and they have a relative who's a real estate agent. Do you have a listing process that is so bulletproof that creates significant, massive doubt in the consumer's mind so that they have no choice but to go with you when their sister's a realtor? That's the approach that Brian Moses takes when he's going out for a listing, because let's face it, a listing is worth $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 or more.
Yep.
And it's not just that I don't like to lose, I also don't want to lose that opportunity. The other thing that I built into the case is to be able to charge a premium. So I'm not the cheapest real estate agent in my market. I'm the most expensive real estate agent in my market. And I articulate value very well, and I'll give you some strategies to do that today so that you better differentiate yourself from the competition. You win more at a more frequent level, and you're able to charge whatever it is that you determine is your value. So the winning of the listing, when does that begin? When do you win? When do you start competing? I want you to think about that. It actually starts at first contact. So when you book the appointment with the seller for Thursday at 4:00 in the afternoon, I've created this process, and you can take a screenshot of this. This is my listing process. So this is my whole process of working with sellers. But what I've highlighted here in yellow is the listing presentation. The winning begins when you qualify the appointment. Now you may think, okay, Brian, I know what qualifying the appointment means. What you say matters. How you say it matters. Rapport is built right here. Doubt is created right here. And I'll share with you my qualifying questions. Oops, wrong document. Next one. These are my qualifying questions, and let's just go through these to see if you can add these to your process, because every one of these questions is in my system because at some point I lost a listing by not asking the question. When I was 50, and I'm 57 now, they recommend that you get a colonoscopy. So at 50, I go and get a colonoscopy. And before we have the procedure, the nurse asked me 50 million questions, is what it felt like. But as she's asking me all these questions, what are your allergies? What are you allergic to? Are you on blood thinners? Did you take your prep for the colonoscopy? As she's doing all this, my subconscious brain is saying, they're very thorough. Now, if I had a colonoscopy in New Hampshire or a colonoscopy in San Diego, where Randy's from, my bet is that nurse would ask the same questions because they've gone to medical. The address, even though I know the address, I confirm it. Hey, Randy, your property is located at 123 Alameda Road in San Diego. Is that correct? Are there any other properties that you're thinking about selling? 99 times out of 100, the answer is going to be no, but it's intentional. It's about being thorough. I have your phone number at 555-1212. Is there an additional number in case I'm unable to reach you on that? What about your email? What's best? Do you prefer call, text, email? Oh, I prefer text. Okay, great. If for any reason I need to call you, is that okay? It's all. I'm asking questions that their competition is not asking. What are your property taxes? What's your insurance premium? I don't even care how much the insurance premium is a year. I want them to go, my sister didn't ask me that. Are there any renovations or improvements that I should know about? This is a big one. What have you enjoyed most about your home? What are your favorite things? What are you going to miss the most? Because I want to use this when I'm going through the property to build rapport and comment about those things. I can't wait to see it. What do you think prospective buyers would enjoy most about your home? Sounds like you've got a lovely home. Why are you moving? How much are you hoping to sell your home for? They'll tell you. of has the market over the last 10 years gone up or gone down? If I know what they paid for the home 10 years ago, I have a pretty good idea of how that translates to today. What do you owe on the property? Why do you need to know that, Brian? One of the services that we provide is we give you a detailed list of expenses, the biggest expense that you're going to have. That I should make that in bold. The biggest expense you're going to have is your mortgage. So that's why I asked. I'm saying the biggest expense is your mortgage because I don't want them to think of me as the biggest expense. So everything's very strategic, very speaking with anybody else. My preference is I like to go last. Some people like to go first. My preference is I like to be last. So I have 13 qualifying questions. The very last one is I want to get them vested. When you get people invested in the process, your chances of winning go up. Even though I can get every those qualifying questions, my hunch is, hopefully everybody got a tip out of here, are more thorough than what you're presently doing. And when you're more thorough, you create doubt and you start to talking to some vets here on some top producers. So I won't spend a lot of time on that. But if you have a team, we would hire brand new people right out of real estate school. We'd hire superstar salespeople with no real estate experience, help them get their license. And we created this checklist so that a brand new agent didn't, without the skills, knows that they need to bring a net sheet, knows they need to bring a camera, a calculator, all the paperwork. When I'm doing the tour of the home, I just want to talk a little bit about this. There's two things that I'm looking to do. I'm looking to, one, decide, can I go for the listing? So if I can get the listing on the first shot, I'm going to get the listing on the first shot. But there's a couple of things that would prevent me from likely getting the listing. I want to eliminate the competition. How valuable would it be that before we get into our benefits, before we get into our pricing, if they're interviewing two other agents, I've killed their chances of getting the listing without disparaging them. We don't disparage anybody, but the way that I eliminate the competition is I create doubt. So I want to confirm that they've met with everybody. And I want to eliminate the competition. So it would sound like this. Mr. Seller, when we set the appointment, you said you were meeting with Caldwell Banker, Keller Williams, and Century 21. Were you able to meet with everybody? And did they go over pricing, fee structure, and all the details? Strategist? Do we want the seller to think of your competition as good? We don't want them to think of our competition as good. So I'll get clarity and I'll say, well, that's fantastic. Great to hear. Can you share with me what was it specifically that they shared with you that knocked your socks off? That was super impressive. My goal is to get them to go, geez, well, when you put it like, I mean, they were fine. I'm creating doubt because they don't remember the dog and pony show that agent just went through. So I've created doubt. Conversely, I say, I simply create doubt and say, huh, really? You're kidding me. They said that? So remember, the goal is to get the listing, to win the listing. I have a 3-pronged goal. I want to win the listing. I don't get paid if I don't win the listing. The second goal is I want to get it at my full commission. The third goal is I want to have it priced competitively. But what if I can't accomplish goal 2 or goal 3? I still want to get the listing. So if I agree that the daughter's room should be painted, but it pissed them off, that's not going to help me get the listing. Does everybody follow me? And I love Randy's feedback because once we do the open house, everyone will say you should. And it's, the one thing they want from us is how much is their house going to sell for? And I explained to them that asking the highest price doesn't get you the highest price. I explained to them that the market determines the price and we're going to cover that, but because I don't control the market, we'll cover that last. Is that okay? They go, okay. As long as you're covering it, they're okay with it. The second thing is timing. If there was a better time to sell, you'd want to know about that, right? So when we cover pricing and market conditions, we'll go over timing. But do you know, Mr. Seller, what's the one variable that's within your control that determines whether or not you sell your house for the bottom of the market or you sell your house at the top of the market? And I do it like this visually. But it's the agent you select. Can I tell you why? Because the agent you select is directly responsible for the demand you get on your home. Price is a function of supply and demand, and the more demand you get, the better price you'll receive. Does that make sense? So I'm setting the buying criteria that all real estate agents aren't the same, and that their sister, who they might be interviewing, doesn't hold a candle to us. It's all about demand. You got to pick the agent who's going to do the most to increase the demand, to create a bidding war. Then I go into my benefits portion of the presentation, and I have 3 benefits that are ridiculous that I know my competition isn't talking about. And you should have those benefits, whether it's matching your buyers up with a database, Man, I wonder if my sister's going to get me the best price for the house. She didn't talk about website syndication. She didn't talk about migration mapping. Then I check in before I've ever done price, and I ask this question. Are you starting to see that there's a lot more to getting your home sold at the top of the market? You see, anybody can sell your home, but there's a difference between selling your house at the bottom of the market and selling the house at the top of the market. Are you starting to see that there's a lot more to this? That there's some skills and expertise involved? They go, yeah, this has been really helpful. Great. Are you comfortable with my skills and qualifications, or would you like to hear more? See, I don't say of the market versus the top of the market, I'm worth 1 or 2% more. So then I go into pricing. Then I use a net sheet to show them what they'll walk away with based on the top of the market. I say, will that work for you? Now their focus is on what they walk away with. It's not on the sales price. It's not on the commission. It's on the bottom line. I'll handle any objections. I'll ask them an easy question before I transition to the paperwork, like, hey, I see you have 2 cats. Are there any special showing instructions? Or you guys are in a great neighborhood with lots of traffic 2 streets away. Do you have any objection to me putting directional signs around the corner, having my team install directional signs? So I'm asking them an easy question. Then I'll go to the paperwork and I'll start with the easy forms first. I'll give them a homework assignment and have them keep them invested, have them fill out the seller statement of representation. I'll schedule time for pictures, measurements, etc. And I'll ask for referrals, simply saying, man, it's been great working with you. I'm looking forward to working with you. You guys are great people. Great people know other great people. Do you know anybody else that would benefit from our skills, our expertise, and our services in either buying or selling? Be happy if you keep us in mind. And that's my listing presentation framework. Now, because we've had so many great speakers talk about what they do, I wanted to share the framework, because I think if you do the right things in the wrong order, you have catastrophic results. And it's really important to do the right things in the right order.
So good. Yeah. Yeah. Asking the questions, man, I think that's where most agents fail, is they just go and they just talk about themselves. And it's like, no one cares about you. They care about what you're going to do for them, and in terms of listening to them and understanding, and your questions are so good. And yeah, that's awesome. Brian, someone asked, can you share your personal 3 benefits, or do you tailor them to what the subject property needs?
So I like to be unique and different, and it's all tied to supply and demand. So let me give you an example. One example of a benefit, and everybody can go to flowsmapper.go.census.gov. But I'm in Hillsborough County in New Hampshire. So I will take a screenshot of this, and I don't have a PowerPoint. I have collateral, so I'll have 2 or 3 exhibits for my benefits to show them. And I'll say, Mr. Seller, price is a function of supply and demand. How valuable do you think it would be for your agent to know where the likely buyer for your home is coming from? Would that be something that you'd want your agent to know? So I subscribe to this Migration Census Bureau, and it'll tell me that in Hillsborough County, the majority of the people coming to Hillsborough came from Cheshire County. So, you know, sometimes you're interviewing other companies and they talk about how they're worldwide and they're international company. It really doesn't matter because we don't have buyers coming from Germany, France. We have buyers coming from Cheshire County. So we have an online marketing strategy that will market your home to everybody in this highlighted area. And we can spend less money and increase our probability of reaching the buyer who's most likely coming to your area. So that
This
would
alone,
be,
like this one, Brian alone is like a slam dunk. Like there's the chances of another agent showing this are like zero.
yeah. Hey, you mentioned, Randy, that your brother is a newly licensed agent and you're interviewing him. Did he share this with you, Mr. Seller? No, my brother didn't share this with me. Like Randy said, it's slam dunk.
Yeah, so good. Good stuff. Well, it's 9:59. Wow, good job, Brian. Right on time.
You too, brother. You crushed it. So hopefully we carried the torch well for Mitch and Pete and Dennis and everybody else, Brian, while they're all enjoying margaritas and tequila in Mexico.
Yes, and the sun. So we'll see you guys next week, but we didn't want to leave you hanging. Even though they're partying, we're still here. So show up next week. And I don't know if we still have a few of us left. I'm not sure. We'll let you know the topic via email and in our Facebook group or a workplace group. If you are part of EXP, if you're not, then you should probably be on our email list. So see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Good to see you, Randy. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you, Brian.